Sad news, everyone. The time has come for us to finally sell our GX470.
Stop it. We're not saying that on camera.
Now that we have the Sequoia in our lives, it's kind of a rig that does the same thing the Sequoia does. So it's time to say goodbye. Really, what we're going to focus on this video is everything we need to do to make sure we get the best price for this car in this market when we sell it. There are some things that we're going to have to do to make sure we get top dollar for this car when we go to sell it. And since we are planning on selling this car locally and not to a dealership and privately, I'm actually going to be doing a lot of the maintenance items myself. One thing that's always bothered me is that we have the Lexus wood grain steering wheel, and then the wife and I did a wood grain delete on the rest of the car. So we're going to go ahead and switch out this steering wheel to make it match the rest of the car. And I don't want to just put on an AutoZone $10 cover, and I don't want to stitch on some leather thing over that. It's just best to put on a brand new steering wheel. It's the first thing somebody touches when they test drive the car. It really connects the experience, and it really elevates the inside of this car. So we're going to switch out the steering wheel for something a little bit newer. Second thing we're going to do to the car is remove some of the customization on the rear table we have here. We had this made custom for us by Orange Box Fabrication. Stainless steel cutting board, extra moly panel. But whoever's buying it, I guarantee you their name is not M&M. It's Mike and Emily, and this was our project car. So I'm gonna cover this up, basically gonna put some stickers over it, vinyl it over it. So we're gonna tidy this up, really just kind of cover up the M&M here. And then finally, the number one thing that everyone asks about when you go to buy a used Toyota, everyone always asks about this item. Hey, when was the water pump or timing belt done? This car has 130,000 miles on it. The timing belt was last done 72,000 miles when I bought the car from CarMax. And while you're supposed to change the timing belt and water pump maybe every 75,000 miles, so really we have 10,000 more miles to go. And for someone who doesn't drive the car that much, that could go a year or two. I'm just gonna go ahead and change the water pump and timing belt. I got all the stuff to do it today. The engine bay is looking really nice and tidy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And actually, that's gonna be the first thing we're gonna get into today. There's not gonna be a video on how to do that, but things we need to do to make sure we get top dollar for this car. The very last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give this bad boy an alignment. I gave it a super high caster alignment and I pulled the wheels back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them forward a little bit, and that way it gets rid of some of the rubbing. We got our hands full for this thing. I kind of feel like I'm mini Speed Academy here without the tools, without the partner, and without the lift. But I'm going to have to do all these things to this car before we list it. One thing to note when you are going to sell your GX470 is all the little things that annoy you need to get fixed, because someone's not going to pay you to inherit all your unfinished projects on your car. All the rattles, the squeaks, the rubs. Make sure you take care of all that stuff before you try and sell the car on the market, and that's what we're going to address today. If you're taking off the clutch fan like me, I've done this job now 3 times, and this is the first time you might run into this. This is the first time the clutch fan nuts were actually seized onto the clutch fan. Every time I threw a 12mm open end on here, I would strip the nut. And so the good old trick of getting a chisel or a flathead screwdriver, creating a notch with your hammer, like hammer it down into it to create a little notch inside on the edge of the nut, then use that as leverage and hammer the screwdriver or chisel to unscrew the nut. And that worked on all 4 nuts. Actually, this nut is reusable, but I think I'm just gonna go get better hardware. Actually, I think I have good hardware at home for this. But I mean, it saved me so much time, trouble. I didn't have to cut off the studs. I didn't have to worry about anything. Just use the good old-fashioned chisel or screwdriver to get in there. And I wanted to let you all know because that might be something you're running into. But back to the time lapse of water pump and timing belt, because we got many other things to do on this rig before we sell it. Alright, I got the timing belt out of the car, and actually, I probably could have not done this job. This timing belt looks amazing. The rubber is still super soft, 0 cracks whatsoever. As much as I fold it over, nothing. I mean, even in here, nothing, no little cracks whatsoever. So preventative maintenance, I guess. I mean, this is an old car, the market's tough, and I want to make sure I do everything I can to make sure this car sells well. So anyway, timing belt doesn't look too bad. Disaster avoided there. Time to put everything back together. All right, we got the new timing belt on. Do you see how I marked with the white pen the top dead center mark, not T, this, and the arrow lines up with the cam gear. Same with this one, the arrow lines up with the cam gear. And the bottom one, I made sure to mark on the block. It's kind of hard to see, but I marked on the block. And then we got to go underneath and make sure the arrow of the belt lines up with the dimple. And boom, she lines up right on the indent there. Not the big circles, but the indent. Now it's time to put on the timing belt tensioner and start to put this engine back together. Now that we got most of the water pump and timing belt done, it's time to take a little bit of a break working on the GX and play with an RC car. Made myself an mini RC crawler course in my front yard. I'm not gonna make this an RC car video, but I am gonna show you guys the line as I drive my SCX24 through it and take a little break in working on the GX because I gotta stay sane. Pointless break in the video, but now let's get back to working on the GX470. If you guys want to see more RC content on the channel, let me know. I'm gonna use one of my coolant power bleeders or whatever you want to look at. It's basically from Harbor Freight. What it does is it creates suction in all of the coolant system. Somewhere in between 20 and -15 is fantastic. If you get -25, it's phenomenal. But you want it to stay. So if I start to create suction in the system and it doesn't stay and it just kind of bleeds off, that means I did something wrong. And then even though I'm creating negative air pressure, I'm going to use that to suck in coolant into the system. And that way I don't need to bleed it, that way I don't need to burp it, and that way it's good to go much faster. Let's open her up. And she's sucking coolant in. Look at that. Now let's see if she cranks over. Yes! New timing belt, new water pump, new serpentine belt, new pulleys, no screeching noises. She purrs like a kitten. This is exciting. Wow, let's see how it does. Good stuff. Boom. Time to move on to the inside. The old wood grain, well, it is nice and actually one of the best wood grains I've ever felt in my life. It doesn't match the new carbon fiber interior. Well, newish. We did this about 2 years ago. So let's jump into the steering wheel first. Super simple. And I'm also going to give you a quick pro tip. If you want to do the same thing to your GX470, don't Google GX470 steering wheel. Instead Google 4Runner or Camry steering wheel. $189 shipped to my house. Done. Totally worth it. Totally brand new. Made out of steel. You can hear it. And much thicker wood. So just an upgrade all around. Let's just get into the install. Boom. And just like that, new steering wheel's on. This looks so good. This looks how the GX470 should have looked. Holy cow, this looks so good. Oh my God. Okay, time to move on to the rear section. All right, we got the back door all done. When it's closed, it looks phenomenal. Now, all that's left is give it an alignment, give it a good detail, and let's see what she looks like all cleaned up, baby. Time to throw in one final piece of the puzzle. Some nice WeatherTech floor mats. Oh, this is starting to look real nice in here. Real nice. Sun is shining. I picked up Emily from the airport.
It's our last ride in our beautiful car.
It's our last ride, and it's time to take this GX on a cruise. Sorry, the sun is in our eyes because, oh my God, the sun is here. And we're gonna go take this to a spot and take some photos of it and some Ender video clips. And you guys get to see what we've been working on for a week. Comment below if you have any thoughts on what you think we're going to sell it for. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you guys on the next one.